All right. So like I said, today's mini lesson is very applicable to kind of the world around us, especially as we continue and progress to see certain things like in the adult world, like buying a house or buying a car, things like that. You'd be surprised how much percentages come in. And this myth actually emphasizes that a lot in some of these lessons. So we're going to take a look at two different examples. What we're doing in this lesson is finding a multiplier or a number that's going to help us evaluate what a value will be after it increases or decreases. So something that's kind of interesting is that a house, the more work that you put into a house, the more that you do on it, right? It can increase value, right? So if you, put in a new basement or you put in a new bathroom, right? The value of that house is going to increase. It's going to be more to sell, things like that. What's funny about that is cars are almost the complete opposite. Anybody ever heard the expression, like as soon as you drive a car off a lot, it decreases in value, right? Cars only decrease in value. So we're going to take a look at either of those two or both of those examples and kind of apply it to what we have learned, all right? And actually understand, well, how much has it increased? How much has it decreased, okay? So this first example that we have here, we're going to use this to kind of catalyst a list of steps for us to understand how to find the value of these problems. It says a house is valued at $389,000 over the years. Okay, $389,000. The value increases by 15%. All right. So the types of questions that you're going to see in your ALEKS assignments, it's going to say the new value is equal to blank times the old value. For this, we need to understand how we're going to use percentages and decimals to help us find that new value. Okay, and this is actually going to apply to something that we did yesterday. We're going to take that 15%, okay? And we're going to convert 15% to a decimal. Well, what's 15% as a decimal? Is that 0.15, right? 0.15. Now, if something increases by 15%, okay, we don't take that and multiply it by 0.15. Right? It stays at its value and then increases an additional percent. So what we do whenever we see something that increases, and what we might want to write down is this. We do 1 plus that percentage when we are increasing. We do 1 minus that percentage when we are decreasing. Right? Something that you might want to note or kind of write down so you're aware of what we need to do for each problem. So in this problem, it says it's increasing. The values increase by 15. So what is 1 plus 0.15? You have 1 and you add to it 0.15, 1.15. Right? So our first step is to understand, well, what am I going to multiply by from my old value to understand what my new value is? In this problem, I'm increasing, so I'm going to do 1 plus my converted decimal, and I'm going to multiply everything by 1.15. Because it stays at the value it's at, so that's where the 1 comes in, and then increases an additional 15%. Okay? Whereas if it decreases value, it stays where it's at and then just loses whatever that percentage was. And we're going to see in the next example what that means. Okay. So my first step, convert the percent to a decimal. My second step is to add 1 to that if I'm increasing, or take 1 and subtract the percent from that if I'm decreasing. My last step now is to take that value, so the 389,000, and multiply it by 1.15. Very similar to a lot of the lessons that we've done in the past here. We probably will need a calculator to help us with this, right? Off the top of our heads, we probably don't know what 389,000 times 1.15 is. So somebody using their calculator, tell me what 389,000 times 1.15 is going to be. And that's what's going to help us find what that new value is. 447,350. So this house that was valued at $389,000 increased by 15%. So we took the decimal, added 1 to it, and multiplied it by the old value. And now we know the new value of that house after it's increased is $447,000. Excuse me, $447,350. All right, so that's going to be the A and B of the problems that you'll see on Alex. So part A, what do I have to multiply it by? Part B, what's the new value? Are there any questions about that first example? Okay. Let's see what happens when I decrease in value. All right. So it says a new car is valued at $35,000. It decreases value at 15%. What is the new value? All right. And one thing that we need to do is kind of reference these notes above here to help us with this problem. So the first thing I want to do, change that decimal, or excuse me, change that percent to a decimal. What's 15% as a decimal? We just saw this. What's 15% as a decimal? 0.15, right, or 0.15. Good. So the first thing, change the percent to a decimal. Second thing, before I can answer part A, I need to understand whether I'm increasing or decreasing. In this example, what am I doing? Is my car increasing value or decreasing? Decreasing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 1 and subtract from that 0.15. And what's 1 minus 0.15? If you need to use a calculator, you can. What's 1 minus 0.15? Or what's that? 0.85, right? Okay. Think of it this way. If something is at 100% value, decreases 15%, then it's at 85% of its original value, right? So that's where we get the 0.85 from. If I'm increasing, I add to it. If I'm decreasing, I subtract from the 1. Now what I'm going to do is take the old value, which is what? So what's my old value in this problem? 35,000. So my new value is 0.85 times, or excuse me, my new value is 0.85 times the old value. My new value now is going to be the 35,000 times 0.85. Well, somebody using a calculator or some other calculating app or whatever. 29,750. Good. So my new value of this car is $29,750. So it's already decreasing 15%. It's worth much less than it was originally. Okay. Any questions about either of these examples? Let's just walk through what you need to do. Take the percent, convert it to a decimal. If you're increasing, add that decimal to 1. If you're decreasing, take 1 and subtract the decimal. That's going to be your answer for part A. So it's either 1 plus your decimal or 1 minus your decimal. That's always going to be your answer for part A. For part B, your new value then is to take that decimal and multiply it by the old value. That will give you either your increased or your decreased value of the situation that presents itself, whether it's a car, whether it's a house, whatever you're discussing. Okay? Are there any questions about either of those examples or anything that we covered today? Everybody good? Okay.